Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 5 of multinational management class. I'm delighted to share with you my research on Japan. To do so, we're gonna follow the agenda. Japan dashboard introduction. I will talk to you about Japan versus US in cultural dimension. We'll talk about the barriers, marketing, supply chain, the finance and economics, social responsibility of Japan, and then we'll have a summary, and there will be some reference pages for my research. Population of Japan is less than 130 million, with a growth annually of 1% based on the 2016 survey. The currency used in Japan is a yen. It's about 140 yen for $1. The government in Japan is a constitutional monarchy. Although the emperor is a ceremonial head of state, he has no constitutional power. The internet penetration in Japan is about 79% of the population, which makes it a good candidate for e-commerce. In the nature, Japan has approximately 1,500 volcanoes, which have contributed to the common occurrence of earthquakes and other natural disasters. The urbanization is about 92% of the population that resides in urban areas. As introduction, within the 10 years, the number of foreign workers has increased by 5 times if you look at the graph here, and which culminates in year 2017 to year 2018 with a 14.2% of growth. This is the highest one year on year. And if you look at the graph here below, we have about the manufacturing represents the 30% of the employment for foreign labor, and it's followed closely by service industry, and the third one is wholesales and accommodation, which represents 12.7%. Moving on. The cultural dimension. So I have used Hofstede's dimensional view of cross-cultural comparison in between US and Japan. So the first one, which is the power distance, expresses the attitude of the culture toward this power inequality amongst us. So the higher the score, the wider the power distance is, and with an average of 54, Japan is a cross-border hierarchical society in all social contexts and with a meticulous, slow decision-making process. All decisions must be confirmed by each hierarchical layer and ultimately approved by the top management. US with 40 is a little bit flatter and shows that in between the supervisor and employees, the structure are considered almost equal. For the individualism, which is a second, the fundamental issue addressed by this dimension is the degree of interdependence society maintains among its members. So Japanese perceives are collectivist by Western standards, and like all the Western countries, individualistic with high respect for privacy and high value on people's time and their need for privacy and freedom. So for the masculinity, the fundamental issue here is that is what motivates people wanting to be the best. If you look at Japan, it's a high score of 95 and is one of the most masculine countries in the world. The Japanese are very proud of what they do and work hard. The American will come with a 62 and a bit on the Japanese. We all know the work hard, play hard expression. So the fourth one, which is uncertainty avoidance, which defines how a society handles the fact that the future can never be known. With a score of 92 in this dimension, Japan is one of the countries that avoids the most uncertainty. The score of 46 for US is more open to changes and innovations and more open to different ideas and approaches. The number 5 here is a long-term orientation. It describes actually how every society has to maintain some links with its own past while dealing with the challenges of the present and future. And society prioritizes these two existential goals differently. With 88 for Japan is one of the most long-term oriented society. Japanese see their life as very brief. And they should strive to do the best in their lives. For US, it's scoring 26. Americans are prone to analyze new information to check whether it is true. Thus, the culture doesn't make most Americans pragmatic, but this should not be confused with the fact that Americans are very practical though. The number 6, which is indulgence, this dimension is defined as the extent to which people try to control their desires and impulses based on the way they were raised. In US, which has 68, is in this dimension, society is more focused on personal happiness, encourages debates and dialogues, values the freedom of speech, and strive for the work-life balance. Moving on to the Japanese culture, language barriers. So you have like spoken languages and dialects, technical languages, written communication, company-specific language, and even non-verbal communications that are potential barriers. However, we can use plain language, find reliable translation services, use trusted interpreters and provide classes for employees to overcome that language barriers. So language barriers can be a challenge, but working with people of different cultures and background is what drives innovations, creativity, and success. Don't let language barriers stand in the way of embracing everything a diverse workforce has to offer. Marketing. Bilateral US-Japan trade in goods and services surpasses $300 billion in 2018. And per capita income of 43,000 underpin its strength as a consumer market. So Japan's population is declining over years, with predicted shrink of 127 million today to 87 million in 20 60. If you look at the graph here, we see that the population over 65 years old is shrinking, will shrink by 40% in 2060, which is now 20%, right? From 20% to 40% in 2060. And healthcare-oriented business will be attractive in the years to come. And also a partnership with local firms to start the internationalization is what is recommended. The supply chain strength of Japan is highly trained workforce. Japan produces high quality product and it's known for it. And Japan has a very efficient public transportation network. About 90% of freight in Japan is by road. And the risk to sourcing is that frequent earthquakes in Japan that can easily disrupt the movement of goods. Also, you have the aging workforce that could put some strain on logistics in the near future for Japan. Financially, Japan is the third largest economy in the world after the United States and China. So GDP is about 5 trillion in 2018, and the household consumption percent of GDP is 55% in 2017. So U.S. trade balance with Japan was 58 billion in 2018. Unemployment rate is very low, 22.4% in May 2019, and Japanese yen fluctuates against dollars. As you can see here, we have actually hit some records here. Concerning sustainability, Japan has taken some objectives here. The overall score measures the total progress toward achieving all the 17 SDG goals that were set. The score can be interpreted as a percentage of SDG achievement. The 100% indicate that all the goals have been achieved. For Japan, they have 80% and is ranking 19 out of 163 countries, with a positive spillover of 67%, which shows that Japan causes more positive and fewer negative spillover or impact on the environment. So in summary, Japan dashboard we have reviewed, and we have looked at the cultural dimension of Japan versus US. We can see there are a lot of differences, and even on the cultural barrier there is a lot of barriers, but however those barriers can be overcome, those barriers can be overcome by the training or by interpreters. We have looked at the marketing and the supply chain, which actually can suffer of lack of personnel because of the aging workforce in Japan. And then in finance and economics, we have seen that there is a very great potential in Japan, and that we already have a very good business relationship with Japan, and therefore coupled with social responsibility, we recommend that we invest in Japan, starting by partnering with local business. Thank you for listening, and here are the reference pages. Thank you. Bye-bye.